All right, here we go. It's another edition of the Jonesy and Brown Show. I am John Brown. He is Mike Jones. We are Jonesy and Brown. We talk Philly sports. We talk all sports here on the show. We've talked a lot of football over the last couple of weeks. Haven't had a chance to talk basketball. Haven't had a chance to talk hoops. Sixers are underway. Sixers season is. Why are you looking like that, bro?
Because I'm the one who wanted to make sure we got some basketball talking. I know we need to talk basketball.
Yes.
I'm a basketball guy.
You're not. No. You are not a basketball guy. You are the basketball guy.
I'll take that.
You are the basketball guy. That is you.
And the Sixers are 6-2.
6-2 at the time as they are playing as we do this show.
True. As we record, they're on the court right now.
They are on the court right now playing Detroit.
But currently, they're in a tie for most wins in the league coming into Thursday night this week.
Yes.
Like, they've been fun to watch.
Yes.
It should be, everything's good in basketball land for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it keeps coming back to the game they lost to the Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm.
They controlled a lot of that game.
Okay. Yes, they did. Probably 3/4, not even 3/4 of the game, more than 3/4 of the game, because into the fourth quarter.
Into the fourth quarter, they had control of that game. And what bothers me is that as much as I like watching the Sixers play now, it's in games like that where I just don't feel like this team has a guy who they can put the ball in his hands and trust that he'll make the right decision. Not necessarily a guy that can, I'm going to put my head down and go get a bucket. That's not what I want. I want a guy I can trust to make the right basketball play in those clutch moments, in those big-time possessions.
Yes.
Whether it's score, create for someone else, whatever it is, a guy who knows how to read the court and make the right basketball play.
Agreed.
And that was what I saw in that Brooklyn game that I think more than anything else caused them to lose that game is down the stretch against a good team. Mm-hmm. They didn't know who or how to finish a game like that. And until that situation is resolved, I'm unable to buy into this Philadelphia team's real prospects.
Yeah, well, I think, honestly, I don't think that you can, given what is going on with the 76ers, and we know exactly what is going on with the 76ers. We know their situation. You know what they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can, it's not something for you to buy into just yet. It's an 82 game season.
Mm-hmm.
We're less than a month into, we're not even 10 games into an 82 game season. At this point, what this team can become is still a long way. And there is a huge piece. There is a huge, factor surrounding how you're going to describe, what this team is going to become. You are not going to be able to judge what this team can become until you finally know whether Ben Simmons is just going to be like, all right, you know what, I'm going to play for the Sixers, or they're going to trade Ben Simmons. I don't know. It's
a huge unknown right now.
It's a huge unknown, and honestly, until that is answered, I am enjoying what I am seeing. I am watching the progression of Tyrese Maxie because I want to see, because people who are familiar with this show,
I'm glad you brought that name because I want to brought up that name. I want to talk Tyrese Maxie for a little bit.
All right, then we'll start there because I think people who watch this show, people who are familiar with this show, people who listen to the two of us talk basketball, they know the Jonesy talking points. One of the Jonesy talking points is, can you run an offense with a Kentucky point guard? Can a Kentucky point guard run your offense? I think we know that Tyrese Maxie can make baskets. I love that floater. I think that floater could be lethal. He perfects that. He hits it with a little more consistency.
He's a classic Calipari attacking guard.
Yes, he knows how to put the ball on the floor and attack. However, I think a point of concern, and you tell me, is what I'm going to say a byproduct of talking basketball with you week after week after week for like 2-3 years now?
Yes, it is.
But I watch when Tyrese Maxie is their starting point guard, I see a lot of people, not Tyrese Maxie, bringing the ball up the court. See Seth Curry bringing the ball up the court. See Joel Embiid bringing the ball up the court, which makes me feel very nervous. I do not like that. I see Tobias Harris bringing the ball up the court, starting their offense. And that's part of something that scares me a lot. That's what I'm worried about. But I know Tyrese Maxie can create. I think he's a good create for him. I should say he can create for himself. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. He creates for himself.
And this is not to say we don't like Tyrese Maxie. No. I love his energy as a six-man, as a backup guard.
Yes. But that is a good point. I'm not saying this I'm not trying to
my opinion on having an attack style lead guard in your starting lineup is well documented at this point. And until somebody gives me some evidence on the basketball court to refute it, I'm going to keep feeling that way.
Okay, so you're expound on that. Your thoughts. Tyrese Maxie, right now, the starting point guard for your Philadelphia 76ers.
Well, I think you just illustrated it best when you pointed out when he's on the court as the point guard in your program, he's not necessarily being asked to play point guard in function. You're seeing all your other ball handlers, Court Maz, Curry, Harris, even Embiid handling the ball and triggering the offense rather than Tyrese Maxie. And let's be honest, if running an offense were his strong suit, the ball wouldn't be in all these other guys' hands. That's just the reality of the matter. For all the positive things Maxie is able to bring to a team, that true traditional point guard role is not one of them at this point.
But that being said, I think that's the biggest mystery. That's a storyline I can get into, that I can watch while I wait for this Ben Simmons saga to play out. Can Tyrese Maxie, who's only he turns 21 today.
He's very young. With good coaching, it can be learned.
Yes, but can he develop into that role? This is not us talking about Tyrese Maxie as if he can't be that guy.
At this young age, with proper coaching, it can be learned, but it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and I think honestly, what I will credit this team with, this team and this current front office with, is the type of players they have been able to bring in. These young players seem to be lunch pail type guys. You look at now third year player Matisse Thybulle. How hard he works on the defensive end, doing the dirty work. You look at that. You look at Maxie, and he seems to be someone who who wants to play. You know,
he wants to play good basketball.
Yeah.
He wants to be better. He's not a guy who I'd say he's just never going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And a thing he has going for him is that the way this roster is currently constructed, what you're going to see on the court is a lot of ball movement and good. You're going to see a lot of good basketball in order for this team to be effective and to win.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in an environment that is conducive to his growth.
Mm-hmm.
He's just going to have to do the work. And when I say do the work, I mean study as much as I do, physical drills and things like that on the court. It's a mental part of the game where his greatest needs for development are, in addition to, developing a more consistent outside shot, which I do also think is necessary for him. The more pressing need is if he wants to get starter minutes and maximize his potential, he's got to learn how to run that offense.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. As a basketball guy, you hear a lot about it in football, but I'm not quite sure exactly how it translates to basketball. Can you be a tape guy in basketball? Is watching tape and watching film as important in basketball as people will say would be in football?
Yes, but it's different.
Okay. How so?
I'm studying tape in basketball as much to look for tendencies from an opponent as I am for anything else. Like, if I'm studying an opponent, I'm going to know when he drives to his right, he's going to take 2 dribbles and pull up 60% of the time, versus when he goes left, he's going to finish at the rim with a layup 80% of the time. I'm going to know those things. I'm going to know his shooting percentage drops if I can force him into a fadeaway on the baseline and all those things. And I'm studying those types of tendencies, and I'm also learning to read situations. If I see this defense, where are the holes in the defense going to be? If I see the defense, if I'm in a pick and roll and the guy guarding the screener reacts a certain way, I'm learning to see where my cutters are, where my lanes are, all those things. So it's not film study from like in NFL where I'm looking for formations and play calls and it's like, oh, they're blitzing, so I know to switch from this run play to this pass play or whatever. It's more tendencies and things that you're looking for, but you absolutely need to study the game to really understand. Basketball is a far more mental game than people give it credit for.
Okay.
Especially if you're playing at the perimeter position. Like, truth be told, if you're playing football, your quarterback is the only person who really has to make reads on any given play. Beyond that, your receiver may have to make some reads. Is it zone? Is it man? Do I sit down or do I run this route through? But basically just, reads relative to his position, if any. Every position on the basketball court is a decision maker. Your point guard has more decisions to make, but if we're running an effective offense, every position on the basketball court is a decision maker. Because once I touch the ball, I've got to decide dribble, pass, shoot. And if I'm passing, who to pass to, when to pass it, where to pass it. If I'm shooting, which shot, when the shot, drive, jump shot, left, go right.
So my question would be, do you believe that watching film help Tyrese Maxie?
Yes, absolutely.
Like that's okay, go ahead.
I mean, for anyone who's trying to truly maximize their abilities as a point guard, you absolutely want to watch tape. Because you want to learn how the game works. It's hard to explain. There's a flow, a rhythm, a feel to the game that the point guard dictates, and you need to become more and more familiar with it. Like, how can I'm trying to think how to put this into words without going too deep, without going too Nah, you don't want to. I don't want to go to X's and O's and things like that.
I hear you.
But there's part of it is instinctive, honestly, and those instincts can be honed by study. The more familiar I make myself with, when I see this, that means that's open. When I see this guy moving that way, I know that there's an opening coming from that way. There's a shot for my teammate here. I'm repetition is key. You're drilling these things into your mind, and to the point where when you get in these situations on the court, mentally you've been there before, and you're not hesitating to make that decision.
Yeah.
The game on TV looks a lot slower than it feels when you're out there. And those decisions when you're out there are happening in the blink of an eye. So hesitation kills. And you want to get to yourself to a point where you don't have to think to process these decisions too much. You just want to.
Because, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about how Tyrese Maxie ways that he can improve. Can he improve? We both believe that we're both encouraged. I mean, are you not encouraged?
Absolutely.
By what you've seen?
Absolutely.
And I believe at this point in time, there's no reason to think that he cannot. I'm not going to say if he will, become that guy. But there's no reason to think that he cannot. At 21 years old, seeing what we've seen.
To think that he cannot would be foolish.
Yeah, agreed.
But let's also be clear about another thing. History is not on his side.
No, it is not. No, it is not. Because once again, that's a talking point. That's a Jonesy talking point right there.
Very few guys, especially in modern basketball, are even aware enough to realize that they need to change their instincts, because the modern NBA can allow you to at least statistically flourish while playing that style of basketball. It used to be where, rookies didn't play, and if you wanted to go on the court, especially at point guard, you better play the right way. Coaches still had the power to bench you. That doesn't exist anymore.
This week marked the anniversary of Kobe Bryant's first game, his very first game as a professional, and I believe his stat line was 0 points. Said it was the first of 11 games that season that Kobe Bryant didn't score a point. Now you see where he finished in the all-time list of scorers.
Absolutely.
But to know that, when he came into the league as a rookie, he didn't get a lot of burn. He worked hard, found his way into, there was a player at his position in front of him.
An all-star level player at his position in front of him. Eddie Jones.
Eddie Jones, a guy that and that's the thing, a guy that we in this area we know well. But we say all this to say, times have changed. You're at this point now, when they put you in as a rookie, they expect you to just get up and go.
The expectations now are that rookies come in and immediately their games are 80-90% polished, which is a ridiculous expectation. It's ridiculous. I mean, these are young men. Look, your basketball prime is generally something most guys reach 26, 27 years old. We've got kids coming into the league at 19, 20, and they're being asked to play 30 plus minutes a game and help franchises win. And in all fairness, most of these guys just flat out aren't ready for that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. But I mean, nonetheless, we say all this to say, I think there are a bunch of storylines within the Sixers that we can enjoy while we wait for this. Like, we don't have to watch this and just be all on pins and needles about what's going to happen with Ben Simmons. I think what Daryl Morey said in that interview with 97.5, I believe it. That, hey, you know what, they're prepared to go the long run with this, however long it takes.
And that's what scares me, because if this drags out all year, what we're looking at is the Joel Embiid Sixers becoming the Andre Iguodala Sixers. The whole reason the process began.
I will put it to you like this. And that's part of where this is a bridge that we have to cross when we get there. Because I think this depends on what you get for Ben Simmons. And I think there are a lot of things you have to look at around the league. Are there going to be some teams who feel like a Ben Simmons can help make them better? Or if there's a team where you have a disgruntled superstar that's like, you know what? I'm out. Trade me. And you see Ben Simmons out there. I've watched people debate whether, when Ben Simmons' value was the highest. And I have maintained that Ben Simmons can't be that guy you just trade to trade. I think you trade Ben Simmons just to trade Ben Simmons, you get a bunch of draft picks or whatever, then you know what, then you're right. Then the Joel Embiid Sixers become the Andre Iguodala Sixers. That you're good enough to get a 6 seed.
But here's what I'm saying is not just that. If you sit in a situation where Daryl Morey feels like, I don't want to trade Ben Simmons just for a bunch of draft picks and role players, so I'm going to hold on to him, and he doesn't play, you're the Andre Iguodala Sixers then too. You have this superstar potential athlete sitting there, but he's not really an asset because he's not being utilized. So that's just a chunk of your salary cap going for no reason. So unless you actually reach some level of resolution, which at this point we have not heard anything credible to suggest that it's happening soon.
Anytime soon. No. Now you're right. And that's what makes it a long season. Now, just enjoy it for what it is. I'll watch these games. I'll watch these young players evolve. I think they've made it looks like they've made a couple of good off-season pickups. Some upgrades from some players they let go last year, this past off-season. I think Andre Drummond has been so far an improvement over Dwight Howard off the bench. I think George Nwang has been an upgrade over Mike Scott. I still want to see more ice. I still want to see.
I mean, this is not a talentless team. There's a lot of talent on this team.
Yeah,
but if we're talking about playoff success, as opposed to a team that makes the playoffs and maybe if things go well can get out the first round,
maybe. But once again, it's November. It's November.
Mm-hmm.
It is November. All right, we need to switch gears, man, because it's been fun talking some basketball, but we do have to talk some football. Our Philadelphia Eagles are home against the LA Chargers. You know, we try to find people around the country who can kind of give us a little bit of insight on who the Eagles are playing. Mm-hmm. So I got us a guy. Knows this city well. He's Temple guy. Guy know very well. I used to host a podcast with this brother.
Okay.
Back in the day, we used to do a podcast called Brothers Talking Pucks. Two black men sitting in my basement talking about hockey.
So he's emotionally scarred, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, pretty much. He pretty much packed after doing this. He just packed up and moved, and now he lives in Los Angeles.
Understandable.
He tried to get as far away from me as possible while still living in the continental United States. I appreciate this brother. I respect him a lot. He from Spectrum News in Los Angeles. He's a news guy now, but he knows his stuff. Let me bring in my man Timothy Parker. Tim Parker, what is going on, brother?
What's up, man? I was enjoying you guys talking about the Sixers, man. Because to me, because I'm still following them, of course, it's just simply as a fan, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm sorry, there's a leaf blower out here at our station right now. I wanted to be outside to give you the LA scenic feel and all that stuff, but we got a guy with a leaf blower right now, cleaning up the property. So
because it's about 40 degrees outside,
it's about 40 degrees back here in Philly. So you just
man,
yeah. That'll get you hung up real quick.
I'm sorry, y'all. But seriously, I was looking. I believe it was the first game against Brooklyn. I'm like, who the hell is this Naang dude? He was looking bad. So to hear you guys saying he balling, I like to hear that.
No, he's definitely become an improvement over Mike Scott. Off the bench, he can, he's a good stretch four because
he gives you a higher level of consistency than Mike Scott was bringing the last couple years.
I would blame Doc Rivers for Mike Scott's fall off because he hooped with Brett Brown.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Yeah.
He did, and sometimes that happens. Coaching change, offensive philosophies change, roles change, and you just don't. The spot that you had, the position that you had, the role that you had with one coach might not be what you have with the next coach. So
Nikola Vucevic might be the best example of that.
Exactly. But look, Tim. You're out there in LA. You're enjoying the sunshine. You're enjoying the warm weather. You're enjoying two NFL teams. I need to know something about this Chargers team. I need to know, honestly, who are the Chargers? I see a 4-3 record and kind of a struggling, I guess maybe underperforming AFC West. Who are they?
We don't know. I think that's the problem because up until I'll tell you this, the Chargers are a team who could beat anybody in the NFL. Mm-hmm. They could also lose to anybody in the NFL. The last few years they had the same problem. They would be in games late, and all of a sudden they would collapse. Now early in the season they didn't do that. They won a bunch of close games. That even that shootout with the Browns, that 42-38, whatever score was, they beat them in a close game. Now, the opening game of the season when they played the Cowboys, you felt like it was the same old Chargers because they should have beaten the Chargers. They had those late turnovers and those interceptions, penalties, that stuff that the Cowboys didn't beat them. The Chargers beat themselves on week 1. But then they started to turn it around. They won, they beat the Chiefs. They won a few close games. But then you had last week another game they should have won against the Patriots. Interceptions, ill-timed drop passes. So now we're asking again, who is this? Are you the team that you were the last 2 years before Brandon Staley got here? Or are you a team that's primed for success? Because they blew a golden opportunity to be in first place. They would have been in first place if they just could have beat the Patriots, but they fell apart in the second half. So we're wondering what this team is. We know this team has enough talent to at least go deep into the playoffs. Now, obviously, it could be a Super Bowl team, well, whatever. Actually, the AFC, there is no really strong team. So you could say the Chargers could be a Super Bowl team, but right now, you even didn't get into the playoffs because they cannot close out games. It goes back to the last 2 years.
So that being said, how much faith is in this coaching staff? How much faith do they have in this quarterback? Like at this point, are people sold on the nucleus of this Los Angeles Chargers team?
People are sold on Justin Herbert. They know they have a generational. Unlike Philly, they know that. I mean, and the sad thing about the thing with Jalen Hurts is that I don't know why people aren't on board because he has all the tangible skills. He's mobile. He has a good arm. All that stuff. So I don't see why people are just giving it to him. Is it simply because he was drafted in the second round? I don't know why the Jalen Hurts thing is so questionable in Philly. Now, I'm not saying he's the long-term answer, but even if you do draft a quarterback, you're not going to be a top 10 pick. So he may be your guy for a couple of years. Anyway, but Justin Herbert, he's clearly the answer. But the problem is what around him is good enough. You would think so. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Derwin James. Derwin James played his butt off against the Patriots on Sunday, and they still lost. I'll tell you the big thing with the Chargers is their offensive line. Can they protect Herbert? Because that's Herbert's kind of been saving in the last few weeks, but he didn't on Sunday. And I think if there's anybody other quarterback, if you get pressure on them, can they perform? And then is Herbert going to try to be a hero? He tried to be a hero last week, and he couldn't. So I think the thing with Justin Herbert and the Chargers, can they protect him? Can the offensive line get going? And I think that sets up everything because now, can you run the ball? I mean, can you run play action with Herbert? I think what can this offensive line do is the biggest key and for their season, I think.
So with the coaching staff specifically, having lost the last 2 games going from 4-1 to 4-3, what kind of messaging are they giving their team in order to try to keep them from losing their team or having the team lose confidence in them?
I think it's the same old cliche. We got to just clean it up. But I will tell you, the veterans. See, I think Justin Herbert is still young enough where it's not going to bother him. I'm going to go out there and be ready for the next series. It's the Keenan Allens. It's the Mike Williams. It's those guys who I'm concerned about. Now, not even so much the Derwin James or the defensive side of the ball, the Bosa's and all that. I think Hungry will be fine. It's Keenan Allen who's your main target. On Sunday after the game, he was like, yo, this is every year. Every year we do this. Every year we're talking about the same thing. Why are we losing close games or whatever? So I think if they can keep the veterans together, they'll be fine. It's not the young guys. It's the veterans who has this backlog of trash and blowing it in their minds. If they can keep them engaged, get them going, they'll be fine.
So for you, because you've covered some teams. You've been in Philly for the Eagles when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. You were in Atlanta for a little bit. You're in Los Angeles. You're hearing this type of talk from your veterans. How scary is that? Like how that's not like if you're
okay.
I say this as a lifelong Philly dude. I don't know how I would feel if this was what I'm hearing from the veterans. It's one thing to hear stuff like that from like a rookie dude who ain't been in the league, just don't know better. But when your veterans are talking about, hey, like
every year,
you hear veterans talk like that. For you, what does that say to you?
I think it's scary for this season, just because you have goals you want to reach, but this does not concern me for the Chargers long term. Okay. I think this, because who doesn't want to come? Let's say if you're OBJ, or imagine T.O. back in 2005, who would want to come to LA and play with Justin Herbert? So I think that they'll be okay, like in terms of attractive free agents in the future, building the team because you have draft picks, and I think they're going to be. It's a very attractive place to play, but I'm concerned about this season for them. This is actually. Nationally, this is not a marquee game, But for the Chargers psyche, this is a critical game. I mean, obviously for the Eagles too, because never mind for the Eagles because the NFC is so no. I mean, I wish it was different, but the NFC is so top heavy. Maybe kind of like a one of the lower tier teams sneak in, but there's only one spot for one of those lower tier teams. You know what I mean? So the chances of the Eagles getting the playoffs is very, very low. But
ain't nobody out here thinking about the playoffs.
Okay. So
if it happens, it happens. But ain't nobody thinking about it.
So for the Chargers, it's the opposite. Like 2 weeks ago, my boss came up to me. Actually, was like, "Yeah. So what do you think? Wouldn't it be awesome? You know, since Super Bowl's here, they have the Rams and the Chargers in them. Like, yeah, it was a fantasy, but it was actually real. It was more realistic than a fantasy." Now, I think the Rams definitely have a shot, but the Chargers is like all the buildup that we had on them is kind of like nobody believes it's gonna see. We're gonna find out on Sunday. If they were in SoFi Stadium on Sunday against the Eagles, I would guarantee the Chargers win. And Philly coming off a game against the Lions when they, it was one bad team beat a trash team.
Yeah.
And they destroyed like a JV NFL team. They're going to be very confident. So this is a game the Eagles can win, and the Chargers would be a blow to them if they lost this game. But I think it's like I said, it's the Chargers are just high. This is a very losable game for the Chargers.
Well, I mean, look, we've heard that before. We were sitting there talking about that Oakland game. Hey, this is a winnable game. This is a game they can go out and win. They went out and got cooked. Got absolutely cooked.
No, but I could have told you that. I mean, I'm not about getting cooked, but I mean, like the Raiders are a good team. And if the Chargers were, again, if you were playing at SoFi, I would say the Eagles would probably lose by 17 or 10, maybe 10. I think this Sunday, I think that you don't know what you're going to get from the Chargers. But if I had to pick it, you want my pick, or do you want to save it?
No, make it pick now. It's all good.
Okay. If I had to pick this game, I would go. If I had to pick this game, I would go Chargers, 30-20.
So in that pick, how much of that is because you feel like
take the Chargers on the spread. Take the Chargers.
No, but I was just saying, how much of that is because you feel like that whole travel from the West Coast to the East Coast? It's not the 1 o'clock start; it's 4 o'clock start, which is a little bit more normal for the West Coast team. But
it's a different atmosphere. Like Philly's a tough place to play. However, I'll say that the Eagles, the Chargers, they just went to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. So no reason why they can't go to the Philly and beat the Eagles, who's a worse team. So that's why I'm ultimately going Chargers 30-20. But I would, if I'm an Eagles fan, I would go to the game with knowing that I have a chance to win.
Let me ask you something about that market. Which team runs that market? Is that
Rodgers?
Well, I mean, as far as Rams versus Chargers.
Oh, Rams. And I'll tell you, this is I'll give you the pecking order of teams in LA in terms of NFL teams. It's Rams, Raiders, Cowboys, 49ers, then Chargers.
Yeah. Number 5 in their own city.
Well, okay, maybe I can go back and forth between Chargers and 49ers, but it's definitely Rams, Raiders, Cowboys.
Cowboys have a larger presence in the city.
But their training camp is in Oxnard, which is an hour north of LA.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Y'all should be ashamed. That's why y'all ain't had no team for so long.
No, but honestly, but it's not. It's kind of, you can't blame LA for that, because it would have probably been Rams and Raiders, and the Cowboys too, simply because of training camp. But when you have no team in the NFL, and remember the Chargers are native native to San Diego, although they did start out in LA like 1960 something or whatever. People don't know that, but San Diego is where some people are not receiving them. It takes Justin Herbert and stars and winning to grow them, and community building, and all that type of stuff to grow the fan base. The Rams have their fan base, and then the Raiders were here in LA, of course. They have their fan base, and then the Cowboys are the you know how I feel about the Cowboys, they're America's team. But training camp is also here too, so you have that,
Understood.
Plus, fungus spreads. So
yeah.
Exactly, and that's exactly what they are. Well, look, Tim. You've been out there. And for a minute, you believe that you believe in this team. You believe that this Chargers team is legit.
Oh, no, they're definitely legit, but that doesn't mean anything. They could be legit and go, 9-10 or whatever, 9-8 or 8-9. They're legitimate, but that doesn't mean. We thought they were legitimate last year, but they finished 7-9 or whatever they finished because they didn't have what it takes to win close games. And they started to do it this year. But the bottom line is, if the Chargers are legitimate in terms of postseason, they have to beat the Eagles, point blank. And I think they should. I like I said, I'm going Chargers 30-20. I don't think the Chargers defense is like world beating, but their offense should put up points against the Eagles. Like with no Brandon Graham, I don't know what's going on with the secondary in Philly. So I will go 30-20 Chargers.
No, I personally feel like the Chargers are, despite the last couple of weeks, the results, I believe they're at least a tier above where the Eagles are right now.
I mean, maybe two.
And maybe two. That's why I say at least one tier above. And I believe, and personally, I feel like the Chargers have as good a chance as anybody to make a run in the AFC. But from what you're seeing, what is it that it seems to be feels like is holding this team back from taking that next step where they can consistently win in these closer games, those type of games?
It's simple. Not trying to be a hero, not doing stupid things when it matters most. And a Bill Belichick team is not going to do that. That's why they beat them. They were disciplined down late, and the Chargers have not been disciplined. And it makes sense because you have a young quarterback, and you have a team that shoot themselves in the foot. But that's it for them. They gotta just stop the turnovers, stop the penalties, stop making big mistakes in key moments.
At this point now, you got Brandon Staley as the coach. How confident are you guys in him in his ability and the direction that he's taking this team?
I think time will tell. I think time will tell. It seems like the players believe in him. He's a great communicator. Just somebody from being in the media, you can tell if a guy is a good communicator or not. I think he has that. I think he knows how to connect, and he's young. The NFL is skewing younger in coaches like Sean McVay, connecting with players and stuff like that. And look what Brandon Staley did with that Rams defense. Obviously, it's nice to have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, but Brandon Staley has a resume with that. With the defense from the Rams. By the way, he didn't have to go too far. He went right through the Rams, the Chargers. But yeah, so I'm confident in him, but it doesn't matter. It's about results, and yeah. So like Anthony Lynn, Anthony Lynn, I think Justin Herbert, and I think Anthony Lynn knows his football, and of course Brandon Staley knows his football too. But I think Brandon Staley made it connect more with the players a little bit just because you have that youth aspect. But I believe there's Justin Herbert loved the staff that Anthony Lynn has, including quarterback coach Pep Hamilton, who's not here anymore. Maybe that's part of Herbert's what we've seen last week, because Pep Hamilton really got Herbert off to a good start in his first season.
All right. So basically, because I say this because we're kind of on the opposite side of that spectrum right now. You're confident. You believe in your coaching staff. You believe he's a great communicator. And then over here on the other side of the country, back here in Philadelphia, we got Nick.
You're talking about flowers and gardens.
Yeah. And honestly, he probably bought himself another week with that big win on this past Sunday. Because quite frankly, if that man had spent the week talking about flowers and fertilizer and roots, and then went out and lost to the 0-7 Lions, he wouldn't have made it home.
Yeah.
He absolutely positively would not have made it home. So now, people are thinking, maybe we have a rallying cry. Maybe we'll be above flower. Maybe, maybe. But,
from underdogs to flower boys.
I actually think the Eagles might. There's no reason why they can't, outside of Dallas, they can't rattle off 4 wins against the division teams. That division is terrible, except for Dallas. So there's no reason why they can't. Maybe they could get 5 wins against the division alone. So that's down the stretch of the season.
You look at it like this. You look at it like this. They've already played Dallas. They took their L against Dallas, but Dallas is probably going to run away with this division. You play them week 18 of the season.
Oh, okay. Well, then, that might be a giveaway game.
Dallas might not have anything to play for, but at that, but nonetheless, you look at the Eagles. You look past this game, and the Eagles can't afford to look past anybody. We can, but they can't. You're looking at Denver, New Orleans, the Giants, and the Jets.
The Eagles at this point can still legitimately win 9 games or 10.
Mm-hmm. They could, in the fact that you got to play game. But,
I'm saying if you just guarantee yourself 4 out of the 5 division wins, I'm saying that with that in mind.
Yeah,
I'm saying if you can just take care of the teams you kind of better than. I'd rather have Jalen Hurts than Daniel Jones or Tyler Heineke, or whatever his name is.
That ain't saying much.
But I'm saying those are. I can legitimately say the Eagles could go win 4 games against the division teams, and that gives you automatically 6 wins right there, or 7 or 7.
That would
That's
take
7
you to
wins.
7 right there.
Yeah, it's right there. And then you beat the Jets 8. Why not?
Let's just get past the Chargers.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. This team has pretty much sapped any desire I have to look past the very next game.
The problem we have here is that being this close to it, and it's hard to ignore Nick Sirianni's, let's call them inconsistencies, with his willingness to utilize the run. I'll call them inconsistencies right now because we're coming off his season high by far in rushing attempts against the Lions last week, but he eclipsed his previous season high by 14, 15 attempts this week. It was a huge jump, so we'll see how that lasts. Jalen Hurts, he leaves a lot of plays on the field, as young quarterbacks are known to do, but whatever the cause is, he leaves a lot of plays on the field.
Justin Herbert's not leaving any plays on the field. he may try to do too much, but if there's something there, he gonna hit it.
Exactly, and that's where my concern is. Whereas with a decent defense that tends to be passive so far this season, and going against a quarterback like Herbert who can absolutely sling the ball all around.
Yeah.
I don't see Hurts being able to lead an offense to keep up.
He won't. That's what I said. I think they'll score points, but they won't score. They won't reach 30.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Right. Real quick before we let you go, I know you're a busy man. Let people know where they can reach you, where they can see Tim Parker all over the world. Let us know.
So you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Timothy Parker TV, one word, Timothy Parker TV, and say hi.
All right, there you have it.
Now, before you go, I have a truly pressing question. Given the era we are in, it's 2021. Awareness is at an all-time high. For me, do you have any recommendations for therapists after dealing with JB?
Dealing with who?
After dealing with JB, after dealing with Jonathan Brown, do you have any recommendations for therapists? Because you were where I am first.
You know, I'll hear, you know, people don't get therapy; they get plastic surgery. And I haven't gotten that yet, so I'm okay.
Wow. You know, this first of all, let me tell you something. You look. You see where my man is now in Los Angeles, in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, enjoying life. I'm seeing him on making a good TV, enjoying himself. Look, that's all. Well, I shouldn't say that's all because that's like prime. Well, not he worked with me.
Yes,
that's all. I don't take no credit for that.
We all play a part.
We all look, man. Tim, you got to. You know, you always got to invite here, man. Always good to hear your voice. Always good to see you, man. Always.
Absolutely. Thanks for hopping on with us. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, exactly, man. Proud of you, brother. I'm proud of your success, man. Proud, to say I knew you back when, but I always knew you had to drive, and I knew you would be where you are right now, man. So
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you too, man. Love you, brother.
Yes, sir. I'll see you guys.
All right.
Thank you. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tim Parker, man. That was my man. Tim Parker used to sit right where you say, and we would talk hockey. Two black men talking hockey.
Hey man, brothers talking pucks.
Yeah, brothers talking pucks should make it.
It might be time for a segment of that.
It might be time for a return of Brothers Talking Pucks. Good friend of the show, Caitlin Hemsley, always wants to know when Brothers Talking Pucks is coming back, and I say soon. One day.
Soon.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll make it happen one day. We'll definitely make it happen one day. All right, look, man.
Maybe we can schedule that for the Eagles bye week.
Okay, when is it? It's a couple of weeks away. It's
a few weeks away.
It's a few weeks away. All right, we'll work on that. All right, if you like this podcast, if you enjoy what we talked about today, hit us up, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Jonesy and Brown, one word, Jonesy and Brown, or you can hit us up at BITW Sports. Remember, you can download this podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Just search Best in the World Sports. My name is Brown. That's Mike Jones. Any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
You usually hear people say, free this guy or that, or free that guy.
Uh-huh.
No, not this time.
Uh-huh.
I want to look Ben Simmons in the eye and say, free the Sixers.
Free the Sixers? Oh, so what, you want Ben Simmons to retire?
I don't know. Something. Retire, opt to play again.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Just
free the Sixers. There you go. I was, I jumped on the hashtag win without Ben. But free the Sixers. I like that too. Hey, Ben, free the Sixers, either play or retire. Play or retire.
Free the Sixers.
Free the Sixers. All right. There you have it. Once again, I'm Brown. That's Jonesy. We will check you guys out next week. Peace, y'all.
Peace.